I don't speak about faith just to inspire somebody. Like, that's not what I speak about faith for. Like, each and every one of us are in seasons, in particular moments of our life that are just straight up dark. Like, it's just straight up dark. We feel hopeless. This is just the reality of this world that we live in. But it's still a beautiful world, and God is asking me to ask somebody today, what are you focused on? Because the truth of the matter is, whatever you're focused on, you're becoming phenomenal at it. Let me explain. Yeah, I don't know if y'all remember this spot, y'all. Well, this spot was where I was. This spot was where I was back in November when it was freezing cold, y'all. It was freezing cold. November, and I was sitting right here. Y'all remember, I was leaning against this bad boy, and I was talking about how I had 7 days left to pay rent. I'm gonna play that clip. I have less than 7 days left. Less than 7 days left to literally start things moving with business, right? Literally 7 days left of funding before legitimately I am no longer able to get a place to stay and the homeless journey begins. And I say that with a smile because I know that's not gonna happen, but just because there's certain things now that I'm forced to do. Had I not been in this situation, I would be procrastinating. So I knew I was gonna get to this point when I got to New York of having to do certain things that I know I should have done a year ago. We back in New York. Shout out to MON for the hat. Marcus, we are back in New York, and there's a lot of things gonna happen in New York right now. We're here for 5 days, but I'm gonna vlog this experience. I'm gonna buy Pirate. It's the underdog. Today, man, I was texting a princess, and I got this devotional. And this devotional was on love. And one of the biggest principles it talked about was humbling ourselves, right? And being obedient. And this is in a spiritual context. This is not humbling ourselves to just anything, but humbling ourselves to the will of God, right? Being obedient to the things that God is actually calling us to do. And this may seem like a regular message, but it's like, okay, I get that, you know, I want to do everything God wants to do, right? But the difficulty is that a lot of times, let me speak about this. This comes with what today's devotional talked about, sacrifices.
Doors closing.
All right, y'all. First and foremost, didn't know how I was gonna start this vlog off, but what I had to do was come over here and get some oils, man. If you know me and if you know my scent, I love some oils. New York has some of the best oils I've ever smelled. But last time I didn't really get a chance or an opportunity to purchase any oils. And so one of the first places I just stopped before going to my hospital is an individual selling the goods. Dude got the merch, individual has the smells. And matter of fact, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna introduce you to him right now. There's two smells that I got. A smell I typically get all the time, and it's called the Monte Blanc Legendary. And then he just put me on a new one called Creed Imperial. So I'll be wearing a lot of that today throughout this trip in New York. But the goods, man, the dude got the goods. He got the iced tea for $1.
$1 iced tea, $1.
Yeah.
Come on, iced tea, $1. Come on, iced tea, $1. Come on, $1 iced tea, $1. Come on, iced tea, $1.
I ain't gonna front. It's the best Lipton tea I've never drunk. Look, one thing about New York, man, if you gotta grind and you gotta hustle and you just keep working it, things just tend to work out for you, man. That dude had to come up. You know, a lot of times the will of God forces us to sacrifice and deprive ourselves of fleshly things that we truly want, things that we truly desire. Since I've been in New York, the frequency and the energy has enticed the lust of my eyes. It's induced it. And it's induced it in such a way that everywhere I go, everywhere I look around, there's something beautiful. And not only something beautiful, there's something to do. There's something entertaining. There's always things to do. It's very active. And it's like, how does one decipher and make the choices necessary to continue to move forward? And the only way to do this is about being in the will of God. And so you may ask, okay, how do you discern the will of God?
Really is just follow your heart. Because if you talking about things that you would do and not what someone else would teach you or anything like that, I would say just follow your heart and continue running for your dreams. And just because other people don't agree or don't like what you're offering or what you're about to pursue, don't mean you should stop. Because it's a path for everybody to do whatever, anything. Yep.
What's your vision?
My vision?
Yeah.
For me? Oh man, just to be happy. I think that's really it. Not financially scared or financially unstable. I want to be stable, be secure. I think security is the number one thing for everybody, You don't feel safe if you're not secure financially, food-wise, if you don't get enough to eat and stuff like that. You don't feel like yourself 100%. So, yeah, things like that.
Introduce yourself, man. What's your name, man? What do you do, man? Give a shout out, man.
My name's Larry, and I'm a jack of all trades. I'm an artist. I'm a groomer. I do a lot. Yep.
But one thing is, understand that there's always going to be something to do. There's always going to be something entertaining. There's always going to be a plethora of choices by leaders for the sake of fake principles. Understanding that the will of God is also going to come most of the time with a sacrifice and a deprivation is key. I was at the Target the other day. I was at Target in Brooklyn yesterday. I may go to Brooklyn today again, since I'll be here till today and tomorrow to meet up with a friend of mine as well and to do some shooting around the city of Brooklyn. But yesterday I was at Brooklyn and I left the Apple Store of Brooklyn over kind of close to the Barclays Center. Shout out to Kevin Durant and Kyrie. What a deal, y'all. What an NBA deal. What a trade. And I was at the Target. I went to the Target. after I left the 99-cent pizza spot. And as I went into the Target, man, something hit me in the spirit where I saw something that I wanted. And I saw something that I wanted that I knew was not for me, but everything within my body was just craving to impulsively say, I need that, I want that, I'm gonna get that. And so I struggle because my mind is telling me no, but my body is telling me yes. Move forward, attack. And what I recognize, my leader, is I had to take a step back. And as I was in the aisle of the thing that I wanted, a lady comes up and she talks about how she was buying groceries for her children. Buying groceries for her children, I think she had anywhere from 3 to 4 children. They all eat good. And she said they don't know how to accept the word no. They don't know when enough is enough. They don't know the limitations, basically, when it comes to eating. Don't overeat. They just don't know. And it's like her difficulty is always to get them to recognize that life is not always just going to give you exactly what it is that you want. Some people are going to tell you no. Right? Some opportunities are gonna shut you down. And that's just the way of life. Not everybody's gonna tell you, yes, you can do this, yes, you can do that, yes, 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 yes. Many of you watching this video have been dealt with many rejection, many. And in that moment, I recognized that God was speaking to me through this individual. And I recognized God was parenting me. He was being a parent. He was being a parent. You know, when we're adults and we got to hold ourselves accountable, a lot of times it's easy to, you know, not hold ourselves accountable. It's easy to not restrain some of the things that we do and just get, because we can. We make the decisions with our life. And at that moment, God was speaking me through this lady and like, Jaja, I'm restricting you. I'm restraining you. You don't need that. That thing you think you want, the thing you think you need, you don't need that. You don't need it. And in our devotional today, it talked about sacrifices. It talked about how you know you're going in the will of God when the thing you're being deprived from or your sacrifice is in the benefit of some other people. Not only yourself, but it's benefiting other individuals. You know, you not getting your way may not necessarily benefit you, but it's benefiting other people. And not only is it benefiting other people, but it's also benefiting you as well, because you recognize that in the sacrifice, in the deprivation of what you thought you wanted, other people, and the winning of other people is actually satisfying and fulfilling your craving more than it would have had you just gotten your way.
Yeah, you go. You flow.
All right, my name is Bintu. I'm Senegalese and Nigerian. I'm 19 years old. I go to NYU. I double major in drama and economics with a concentration in public policy. And I don't know, like I'm talking to Jaja right now, and we're talking about how life is just so temporary. Like I had an aunt, her name is Penda, she passed away, like God bless her. But her whole life, she dedicated towards helping people. Like she was the type of woman that if she knew that person next door didn't have food, would cook a lot and like invite them over like it was a regular day, so they wouldn't feel like bad, like it was just like a regular dinner party, knowing that she was feeding that family. Or would like prepare like a dish of food and tell my mom like go give it to that person, you know what I mean, and not explain why. And I feel like that's just so important, because as people we focus on so many monetary things and, you know, giving like money to homeless people and taking a selfie because you want it to look good. And so like my life, like I feel like my real purpose, like besides the arts, I love the arts, is just to help people. Like when I die, that sounds morbid, but it's the truth. When I die, like I want somebody to be like, she was a dope chick and she helped like as many people as she could. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And for like, you know, for future generations to have that. And if that makes me weird, then it makes me weird. But that's just how I look at life, honestly. I'm out here canvassing for a charity. It's reallygood, ifl.org. You should search it up. But yeah, I just feel like living life that way.
And how would you challenge a leader that's watching this video today?
I would challenge you
recognize
to do something for somebody every day. It doesn't have to be like giving money. But if you see somebody having a bad day, instead of avoiding that person, go up to them, have a conversation with them. When you see somebody on the street, don't mean bug them. Like smile, like say hi. In Africa, you greet everybody. You literally, like, people greet you, you don't even know who they are. But you never know that. My mom always says you don't know who's an angel and you don't know who's a jinn.
Yeah.
If you're Muslim, you'll get that. You'll get that statement. So you could do something good for somebody and they could be an angel. And look at you, you're blessed now. You could do something bad to somebody and they're a jinn. I don't know how to help you in that situation. But yeah, that would be my one advice.
And last but not least, leave us with a few words to think about.
There was a quote I heard. I don't know it by heart, but I think it's like, watch your thoughts, they become your words. Watch your words, they become your actions. Watch your actions, they become your habits. Watch your habits, they become your, like, who you are. And watch who you are because it becomes your destiny. Something along those lines.
And it's so potent because I'm reminded when I was young, my pops bought me a Super Nintendo. I forgot what birthday this was. And he bought me this Super Nintendo and I was pissed because we were in Houston and we were at this Big K. I don't know if they have any BKs around. We were at Big K. And literally I remember going through the aisles. I knew what I wanted for my birthday. I wanted this Power Ranger. And this Power Ranger was of big significance to me because I love action figures. You know, I love to play with toys. I love to create a universe with my toys, a hierarchy. And I just love to do that. Action, Japanese fighting sequences I was creating with toys as a little kid. And I remember going to the aisle where the Power Ranger was. Green back then was my favorite color. Still, I think green is still my favorite color. It's just not when it comes to clothes. I love red. I love red. Shout out to Marcus, Man on a Mission, MOAM, for the hat. The Power Ranger. My leaders, hear what I'm saying. Hear what I'm saying. Stay with me. The Power Ranger looked good, my leader. The Power Ranger was cut just right. The Power Ranger literally had, it. You know, some toys, when you get from the dollar store, those toys are stiff, like you can't move the limbs. You know what I mean? Things are just stationary. But this was a Big K toy in the toy aisle, which meant you can move the fingertips, you can swivel the head, you can adjust the limbs on the feet. Like, this was one of those top-notch toys. And I'm like, I'm finally finna be able to get me that. I wanted that. I started the point. Dad, I don't know what you're trying to get. I want that. And so my father gave me an option. Then again, he didn't give me an option. It's like, I wanted the Power Ranger, a toy that I knew and I was comfortable with. I wanted that Power Ranger. I knew it was gonna satisfy me. It was gonna satisfy me. But my father had a different plan. You see, I couldn't see around the corner of this next decision. He brought me to the electronics department, and as he brought me to the electronics department, he showed me the Super Nintendo. And if you ever seen a Super Nintendo, it's big, it's bulky, it's gray, and it has a little bit of it has these purple, that purple reset button. I'm gonna put a picture. And I'm looking at this box, and I'm like, man, I don't want, this thing is ugly. This thing is ugly. Mind you, I'd never seen a Super Nintendo before. I never knew the potential. I was never attracted to it. How could I be attracted to something I knew nothing of? I didn't know the Super Nintendo would be able to satisfy me. So my leaders, think about this for a second. We go through life a lot of times, and we know what's gonna satisfy a craving because it's done it before. We know that this thing has satisfied this craving, and so that action figure was gonna do it for me. And then, but you're looking at this other thing. This other thing ain't built like no action figure. How am I supposed to play with this? Check this out, stay with me. How was I supposed to play with the Super Nintendo, man? It's ugly, it's bulky, it's shaped like a brick. Not understanding that, what I didn't understand myself, my father understood. My father understood. My father understood what I couldn't see. My father understood that if I got that Power Ranger, even to this day, eventually I would have got tired of it. I would have got tired of it like every other toy that I ever had, and I would have needed a new hit. I would have needed a new hit every single time. I need a new hit. I need a new one. I need another action figure. It looks good. I need a new one. I need a new one. I need a new one. Not understanding that, dang. Well, my father knew that this was something that was long term. My father always thinks in the terms of long term thinking, longevity. My father knew what I didn't know. He knew that the Super Nintendo was gonna bring about longevity. He knew it. He knew that there was more value. There was an experience of life that I had never experienced before. And if I went towards this Super Nintendo, I would get to enjoy the delicacies of gaming with family, with my brother. One of the biggest ways me and my brother have bonded was through video games. He knew that this was not gonna be something that I would throw away, even though I couldn't see it. And I started to ask myself this question: how many things, and this is my earthly father, how many things does God in heaven literally deprive us from? Because he knows literally that when we get this thing that we think, or we know, let's be honest, we know that thing is gonna satisfy us today. What if we understood that the reason that this thing got rejected and you're sacrificing by not having it is because the very thing you don't have right this season, there's another thing that's on its way that's gonna be everlasting. It's gonna give you this joy and this experience of life that you've never understood before. It's made for you, it's built for you, it's designed for you. But the problem is, if you're somebody like me who the eyes, man. If I wasn't as spiritual as I am and continue to practice to be, I would have been led astray so many different times just because of my impulsivity. I would have, man, I'm sorry. I just got to be honest. I would have been, my discipline would have been out the window. It's only this fate this promise of a better tomorrow that keeps me from making certain decisions. Even to this day, as I wrestle with my flesh. And I just keep thinking, what are those things that don't quite look pleasing? Like the Super Nintendo. What are those things that don't look like they're gonna add up? What are those things in my life, and how can I understand that this thing is bigger? Because eventually what happened with the Super Nintendo, it became the most attractive thing that I've ever had in my life. It was the most exciting, it was the most thrilling, it was the most important, fulfilling experience that I had in my childhood, other than going outside playing with the other kids and this and that. It was more fulfilling than the toy, the action figure, the thing that looked good but was only a temporary high, a temporary fix. And this season I want us to move away from the temporary highs and the temporary fixes, and I want us to go towards the Super Nintendo. What does this mean? This is the Super Nintendo theory, that every single thing that may not look like it's right for you is probably the very thing that's going to fulfill you in ways that you can't even comprehend. It's going to fulfill you in ways you cannot comprehend, my leaders. Today is about understanding your sacrifice, understanding the ability to be obedient by humbling yourself. Humble yourself. What this means is yielding to God. Saying, you know what? Maybe I don't know the best possible outcome, but I know God does. Maybe I'm not ready, and I never will be ready to do what God has called me to do. But I know God has put me in this situation, so I must be ready. It's just yielding and being obedient. Is just saying, yes, God, you said yes, I'm gonna say yes. That's humility. That's obedience. You want me not to have this season? Cool. I'm not gonna cry about it. I'm gonna be joyful, like Paul said in the Word. I'm gonna be joyful. I'm gonna be glad. And my leaders today, man, this is the message on humility, obedience, but understanding that your sacrifice is really not for discouraging you along this path, but towards leading you in a better way. My leaders, let's pray. That rhymed, I know. Dear Lord Heavenly Father, I thank you in the name of Jesus for allowing my leader to tune into this message today. I don't know where my leader is across the globe who is watching this, but I want to tell them one thing, that if they're watching this video today, there's somebody who just needs to continue to be obedient, even in a season where it feels like this obedience is not taking them anywhere, taking her anywhere, it's not doing anything. Father, allow my leader to just trust the process. This is the faith principle. This is, you have them exactly where they need to be. Allow them to control their impulsivity this season of needing that Power Ranger, that action figure that looks good right now, ain't gonna do nothing good for you. It's not about just the external. It's not about the temporary fix. It's not about the temporary high. We are not drug addicts. We're going towards things that are gonna bring everlasting love. That's what it's about. Things that are gonna endure through time, through struggle, through heartache, Father. Allow my leader across the globe who's watching this to understand that they are worthy, they are phenomenal, they have been built from the great God, and they are loved. Literally, you are aligning them up with a Super Nintendo that's tailored for their life, and just allow them to have the patience and the courage to be obedient to your will, God. So I thank you, and we thank you from around the globe. In Jesus' mighty name we pray. Amen. And my leader, take the time today to write down what it is you're lusting for, and why God may be potentially keeping you away from this very thing. And I'm a firm believer that your life will be changed. We out.